We're going to add and subtract some trig functions here in a second, and we're going to use very similar tactics as some old algebra skills that you got. So right here we got 1/5 plus 12 over 20. I got to change one of the fractions to get a common denominator. I'm just going to reduce that one on the right. So I got 1 over 5 plus 3 over 5. That's 4/5. Okay. Big deal is finding a common denominator. Or changing one of the fractions. So when I look at this one, I could change that tangent of x into sine over cosine. That would work. Um, I'll do that one here in a second. The easiest way for me is to look at this and say sine over cosine is tangent. So I would say tangent of x plus another tangent of x is 2 tangent of x. That's it. The other way to go about this is to say that you want a common denominator. So that's sine of x over cosine of x, and then let's change tangent to sine of x over cosine of x. So now I have my common denominator, that's cosine of x, and up top I would have sine of x plus sine of x. That would be 2 sine of x over cosine of x, and then sine of x over cosine of x is equal to tangent of x. So either way would work. When we see something like this in algebra or 8th grade, like we split up the fraction most of the time. We would say 10x cubed over 5x squared plus 5x squared over 5x squared. Remember doing that? And I would reduce over here. I'd have 2x over here, 1. So similar kind of stuff when I look at this. I can't really do anything simplify. If it was 1, plus cosine, 1 minus cosine squared of x up top, then I could change that, but it doesn't say that. I could make this 1 over cosine of x plus cosine of x over cosine of x. So this denominator went to both of these. And 1 over cosine of x is secant of x, and that's just 1. When I look at this skill, so once again, we got to find a common denominator. So over here, I would say, I can't reduce like I did on that very first one that we looked at, 12 over 20. So I have to say my common denominator is 9. 3 goes into 9, so that was convenient. So over here, I didn't really do anything to it. I didn't multiply by 1 to get from there to there. So from here to here, I'm going to multiply by 1. From here to here, I multiplied by 3. So up top, I need to multiply by 3. That means it's 3 plus 4 over 9, which is 7 over 9. Over here, my common denominator isn't one of the previous denominators. My common denominator is 15, so you have to multiply both of these. So I multiplied by 5 to get there, so up top I need to multiply by 5. That would be 10. Here I multiplied by 3, so up here I got to multiply by 3. That would be 10 plus 3 over 15 is 13 over 15. So when I look at this, I've got to have a common denominator. And my common denominator will be kind of like this one on the right here where I multiplied the denominators. 3 times 5 was 15. So my denominator is going to be sine of x, cosine of x. And I'm going to ask myself, what did I multiply to get from here to here? Cosine of x. So I'm going to take that cosine that's up there, and I'm going to multiply by a cosine of x. And then from here to here, I multiplied by a sine of x. So I'm going to take the sine of x that's already up there and multiply by another sine of x. So I have all of this stuff, cosine of x plus sine of x over sine of x cosine of x. That's obviously not my answer down there. I'm noticing that cosine times cosine is cosine squared. So I could have cosine squared of x plus sine squared of x over sine of x cosine of x. The thing up top is just 1. So I've got 1 over sine of x cosine of x. And then when I, separate that or, kind of flip those over, 1 over cosine is secant, 1 over sine is cosecant. So that's what we got. I don't know if you want to, this is the only spot I got for it. Secant of x times cosecant of x. Sometimes you get a question where there's not really a denominator to start with. You just have to kind of, I don't want to say just make one, but 1/5 plus, if you were to read that decimal out loud, it would be 3/10. So this is 1/5 plus 3/10. And then you would say, okay, this is 2/10 plus 3/10 is 5/10, which is 1/2. Okay. So when I look at this one, there's not really a denominator to work with. I do know that cosecant is 1 over sine of x, though. So I'm going to start over here on the left side again so I got enough room. 1 over sine of x minus sine of x. So that means the same thing as that original problem. And now I have a denominator to work with, so I'm going to create a common denominator, and that is sine of x, because the sine of x is like over 1 here. So my common denominator will be sine of x. And to go from here to here, I just multiplied by 1. To go from here to here, I multiplied by sine of x. So up top, I'll have my original sine of x times another sine of x. And I'm going to put it all over one denominator here. And that's 1 minus. Can we go ahead and call this sine squared of x? So that's cosine squared of x over sine of x. And that is still not what that says down there at the bottom. Well, let's write it like this. Let's write cosine of x times another cosine of x over sine of x. So since it was cosine squared, we can write that as cosine times cosine. And then I'm noticing that that could be rewritten as cotangent. And then I should have my answer down there. So cosine of x, cotangent of x. Final answer right there.